Morning. Oh, it's getting wintry. Happy New Year. Hope you all had a nice break and are ready for what's going to be a much better year than the one we've just had. Off here walking with Barry in the Dingley Dell. So today I want to talk about positivity and how it relates to your copy. There's a couple of ways that I want to talk about this, a couple of angles. So one of them is when you're writing sales copy, you've got a choice about the kind of emotional feel or emotional tone that you give your piece. So you can, for example, you can focus loads on pain points and, really kind of find different ways of exploring the pain and the suffering that your audience are going through to then present them with your solution. So that's one way of doing it. But you could also have a more positive emotional tone to your copy. So you're still talking about the things that they're going through and the problems they're having, but you can frame it in a positive light. You can flip it. And I think with coaches, this is always a much more appealing and attractive prospect because it will land better with your audience. It's going to feel more authentic to you and your brand. You're in the business of helping people. You don't want to keep reminding them of how much they're hurting. So it's completely possible to do that. And that, you do that by, you can think about the pain points, but how can you flip it? How can you talk about it in a way that's actually aspirational or giving hope? So instead of you're suffering with anxiety and this is how you feel and this is how bad you feel and this is what's going on, you could share a story of someone you worked with who had been suffering from anxiety, but now they're doing X, Y, and Z and things are so much better. So you're still kind of touching on the themes and the stuff that you help with, but you're doing it in a more positive light. Now, I've read a thing recently that kind of even reinforced this for me even more, about framing what you do using positive language rather than negative language. And psychologically, this is more effective. So if you say something like, oh gosh, I can't think of an example off the top of my head. I don't know, say you were selling, let's say you're talking about a productivity system that you've got, or doing a morning routine, let's say. Instead of saying, if you don't do a morning routine, you're going to experience X, Y, and Z, you frame it positively and say, by doing a morning routine, this is what happens, X, Y, and Z. And just that small difference in language, instead of saying, if you don't do this, and say it positively, by doing this, it reduces the cognitive load on the reader. So whenever it's a negative statement that we read, it requires a little bit more thinking and it requires a little bit more engagement. And, we've got to kind of process it through in our brain a little bit differently. And you can lose people. If you do that too much, if you keep framing things negatively like that, the cognitive load's increased, your reader's got to think more, and they kind of become disengaged. Whereas if you keep framing it with positive, you can't do this 100% of the time, but if mostly you're using language that frames things in a positive way, like, by doing this is the thing that's going to happen. People who, exercise 3 times a week, see this, that, and other benefit. Food high in protein, help you lose weight, as opposed to, not eating enough protein will hinder your weight loss goals. So, sorry, dropped my thing. So this is kind of off the top of my head, but when you're writing your copy, just think about that and think, okay, can I frame this in a positive way rather than a negative way? And often it will make your language more punchy anyway, and it will make the sentence easier to read. And all of these things come together to increase engagement, people reading your stuff, and ultimately signing up to work with you. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Whoop. Hope you have a great day, and see you on Wednesday. Okay, bye.